In last week's video, I went over some of the techniques that I use for docking my boat, especially in higher winds. So this week, what I wanted to do was just show a video that demonstrates some of those techniques. And so right now, I've got my sails already down. I'm motoring, heading east, and the wind currently is coming from the north. So right now I'm just making my way toward my slip and slowly turning to port and coming basically head on into the wind as I make this turn. And right now the wind conditions are not bad, but you can see there's a storm approaching. So you can see my marina is really close to the shore, and my slip is only about 3.5 feet deep. And as you get closer to the shore, it gets more and more shallow. So the most challenging docking situation for me is when the winds are coming from the west, because that will push me off of my finger dock. And ideally you'd want to come in from downwind, turn into the wind with the bow into the wind. But because it's so shallow close to the shore, I can't do that. And so when the winds are coming from the west is a real challenge for me. So the winds are starting to pick up a little bit. So there's my slip dead ahead, and my spot is on the left finger dock. So I'm making my way into the slip. But then, of course, as I make my way into the slip, the wind picks up, and it also shifts a little bit, so now it's coming more from the northwest. And so it ends up grabbing my bow and, pushes my boat to starboard. So initially I try to save it, so I put it in reverse, and I'm just kind of backing the boat up, and my thought is that I'll be able to turn to port, but that turns out to be a bit of a struggle. And as I spoke about in my last week's video, if your motor is mounted on the port side, if it's not on center line, then it can be more difficult to turn to port, especially at slow speeds. So I backed up, I'm making this turn to port, but as you can see, I just can't make the turn tight enough to get back to my slip. So I'm actually pointing at the slip that's one further down from me right now. So again, I try to back it up and try and make this turn into the wind to port, but it's a struggle. And the wind continues to increase and then shift more toward, so it's coming more from the west. So I'll still go in reverse. Now I go ahead and put it into forward gear and just try and make a big loop around and try again. So one thing you always have to keep in mind is, you don't want to force it when you're docking, right? You just want to be patient, you want to take your time. If you're not lined up, if it's not looking right, then just kind of go back around and try it again. You don't want to force it. You don't want to force a bad situation. So now the winds really pick up. And so I do a full 360, and again, turning to port into the wind, which is a little bit more difficult. And so, the winds pick up to the point where, with the beam of the boat to the wind, it won't make that turn at all. So now I'm really close to the shore. There's only 3 feet of water in my slip. So right now, I'm in danger of hitting the rudder on the bottom or even the propeller. And so, again, I just, say, hey, I'm gonna I'm going to swing around and try it again. Just get set up better. And so now you can see by the waves that the wind is coming from the northwest. So it's pushing away from my finger dock. Whenever I'm coming into a dock, I always keep the boat hook handy. I keep it in the cockpit. I can use that to snag lines. I can use that to snag a horn cleat or the dock itself and pull myself in. But I can also use it to push off. So I can use it to push off from, the boat next to me or from the dock and just avoid, any of those collisions. So I did a big loop and now I'm making my way back to the marina. And so at this point, the wind starts to shift more toward straight north, which for me now, going into the slip, is going to be just head on. So I make my way toward the slip with a little more speed so that I can maintain steering control and keep control of the bow. With the wind on my bow, I have two options. I can either secure the bow first, or I can secure the stern line first and then use the motor to hold the boat against the dock. And so that's what I decided to do. And I've got my boat hook ready, so I can grab the line that's sitting on the finger dock, the stern line. And so I make the turn, and now I'm headed on into the wind, so that's slowing down the boat. I grab the line with my boat hook and secure it around the horn cleat. And I'm in the slip, and so the motor is pressing the bow now against the finger dock, and all I have to do is secure the bow line, and I'm good. Alright, well, as always, I hope you found this helpful, and thanks for watching.